Hello, everyone. Welcome to the upstreamlife.com, a podcast that celebrates businesses that are transforming India. I'm your host and founder, Vishal Krishna. What are we talking about today? Today, we're going to be talking about the blue and gray collar economy. It's of great interest to me because I care about these people. I care about people who are trying to come up in their life. According to a recent report by BCG titled Unlocking the Potential of the Gig Economy in India, there are 2.4 crore new jobs created in the gig economy, blue collar space. And by 2028, ladies and gentlemen, this could be around 9 crore jobs. It's a lot of jobs. Answering those questions for me are Nilesh and Kunal. Nilesh Dungarwal and Kunal Patil, co-founders of Work India. Kunal is a CEO and co-founder also. Kunal in the past has worked with Edelweiss, ICICI Venture, Tata Capital, and Merrill Lynch. He has an MBA from the Leonard N. Stern School of Business, New York University, in the USA. Nilesh has worked with Credit Suisse and has been a founder in the past, but he is also, a consummate technologist. We'll talk about his technology prowess. He has been with Work India right from the beginning. Obviously, 2014 they founded it together. He's a graduate of the Sardar Patel Institute of Technology. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for your time, Vishal.
Thank you so much, both of you. Work India is a portal that fills the gaps between employers and employees. They, cater to blue collar and gray collar workforce. They serve small and medium businesses. As Kunal told me in the beginning, it could be Xerox shops, sari shops, and we're going to get into the details. Okay, these are really hard times for that economy. Kunal, Nilesh, we have to say that we have to pay our respects to that workforce, right? What do you say, Kunal? What's happening in that segment?
No, absolutely. We have to pay respects to that workforce. That's actually the backbone of the economy. If you look at some data of the 250 million total non-agri workforce in India, 237 million is the blue and gray collar workforce. So it's about 18 times the workforce that we talk about, which is you and I and most of us who are in this room.
That's a huge data set, right? And when both of you, Nilesh and you, got together, how did this happen? I mean, you came from a investment banking, private equity kind of background. Nilesh, who found whom? I mean, did you meet in a startup founders club of sorts, or how did that meeting happen? And there's a third co-founder as well, right?
That's
Nilesh,
right. Moiz Arsiwala.
Nilesh, go for it. Who met whom?
So actually, I was working in Credit Suisse, and I was looking to create something of my own at that point. And Kunal had an office in my college with Sardar Patel in the incubator, right? And a professor in the college actually connected both of us, right? And Kunal just gave me a call that this is something that I'm doing, like providing meaningful livelihoods to 23.7 crore people of India. Would you be interested? Like just listening to the sheer number of people, right? As an engineer, you always think that you would be solving a problem of that massive scale, and that's how we met. And like within a couple of days, it was in starting this company.
I didn't know you were in an incubator at the time, Kunal. What was the idea? Yeah. Was this the idea?
In fact, absolutely. In fact, I'll give an interesting anecdote. So I met Professor Kalbande, and he said, there is one person I know. He was my brightest student. And see, the technology that we use is very complex. So I said, give me a really smart guy. And he said, there is one guy, but he will not join you. So I said, look, give me the number. If I don't call him, as such, he won't join. So let me give it a shot. And things so happened that I called Nilesh, and he loved the impact, and we started together. How I went to the incubator was because from investment banking, it's very difficult to have a connect with technology, and I thought the best way to get access to technology talent was to get an incubator in a computer science college, and that's how it started.
That's very interesting, Nilesh. You could have had great job offers. You joined him because of on the idea alone, on the numbers alone, or is it the scale, like you said, right? That's a pretty big risk for a young person to take. And And I'm glad you took that bet. It's a great problem to solve. What is going through your mind at that point of time?
If you see, even my previous two startups which I tried, I always wanted to create impact. I always wanted to be an engineer who's helping people, right, in a massive way, right. And when I heard about this idea from Kunal at the idea stage alone, right, I was pretty much in. That this is something I wanted to be part of and start this massive journey. So that was it. Yeah.
I'm happy you took that bet. And let me look at this service economy that we talk about in India, Kunal. I want you to bring some data points about the firm itself. You handle a lot of, a lot of people, right? It's what you said, over 15 million. Is that the number? A lot of people
No,
apply for jobs
absolutely.
in the portal.
No, absolutely. Last month, there were like 24.8 million unique people coming on the app to look for a job. And we're talking about, these are people, most of them who have salaries less than 15,000 rupees a month. So that's the kind of impact. Absolutely.
That's phenomenal, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you the kind of jobs: telecallers, delivery boys, field sales, right? And
Absolutely.
this can be
Teachers,
receptionists, also teachers.
receptionists, teachers,
Teachers come into this category too.
public school teachers,
Yes.
primary school teachers. Absolutely.
Wow.
We get loader unloaders now coming on our platform.
With our experience, I think, Kunal, you and I are quite old to see how India has changed and how this has become, sometimes a lot of people call this the gig economy. At what stage did you realize that this is the way forward for me? This is what I want to solve. Because you've been a private equity guy, you've been an investment banker. The numbers would mean something to you, right? And you would have seen 2, 3 places that India changed. 2001, when the internet boom happened, we saw a lot of cities grow. Bangalore, for example, I was telling somebody in the morning, went from 2 million in the year 2000 to 10 million plus people today. And you get what I'm saying. The scope of growth in India has been phenomenal, and a lot of that has changed the lives of these blue collar workers as well. You want to give us an history, an overview of this economy, and then you could tell me perhaps why you took the bet, and say, why do the numbers make sense? The sheer size makes sense, but how do you make sense out of it? That's where I want Nilesh to talk about the technology side. Now we built it for you. If you could start off the history of this economy itself, would be interesting for our audience.
Absolutely. Let me give the digitized history of this economy. There's a couple of things that we take for granted in the white collar segment, which are very different for the blue and gray collar segment. One, the evolution of digitization for us, Vishal, we went from desktops to laptops to smartphones. The blue collar worker went from offline to smartphone. There was no transition. And why is it important to know is because then accordingly products have to be customized in that manner. That's the first thing. Second, most people say, it's Reliance Jio, and that's why this happened. Actually, there's 2-3 multiple macro phenomena which happened at the same time. If you go really deep, they are 2017 is when Reliance Jio came in with cheap or almost zero cost data. But along with that, there is another phenomena, which is Chinese smartphone manufacturers came in with these 10,000, 12,000 rupee handsets. So I call that, evolution one, which is penetration of smartphone. And then there is the second massive macroeconomic phenomena, which is adoption, which happened in COVID. Pre-COVID, Vishal, the blue collar worker had purchased smartphones. Entrepreneurship for me started with one realization, actually, which is we have one life, right? And jo bhi karna hai is life mein karna hai, right? There's no second chances there. And very quickly, I decided that I want to do something which is at the intersection of impact and mobility. and this was a perfect opportunity, impact. And by mobility, I mean information on the go, right? Information on the smartphone. Um, what bigger opportunity could it be than this? To give you some data points, India as an economy is just 1.3x that of the blue collar economy, that of China. But if you compare demographics, the Indian economy is close to 3x that of the Chinese demography, the blue collar workers. The third largest economy after China is Indonesia is 1/4 of India. So that's the kind of scale we are talking about. There's Indonesia, which is about 70 million. There is China, which is about 210 million, and we're talking about India today, which is 258 million. So that's the kind of numbers we speak.
And this is just in the services side of it?
Services of this is about 100 million. Then there's manufacturing.
It's still large.
Massive. It's massive. It's so just services, blue and gray collar, is the size of the whole population of Japan as a country, which is or 2x the population of UK. Right? That's the kind of size you're talking about.
Wow, Nilesh, and this is an engineering problem that I want to look at. I mean, when I look at this as somebody who loves technology, you have multiple categories. I think there are more than 50 categories on your website?
90.
90 categories. Okay,
yeah.
Corrected there. And it's interesting, right? For each of these categories, we're talking about the early web in India, at least in an Indian context. Smartphone penetration is still growing. I think today it's all mobile enabled. I'm sure you should talk about that journey and how you went from a website or a portal to becoming an app, maybe, or how are you looking at technologies such as Web3? This is important to me because how can you then use the technology to scale? Pardon me, using AI and machine learning, where there's less of human intervention and less of rules written, static algorithms, more dynamic algorithms. How did you manage that? If you can talk about that journey, I'm going to move on to Kunal for some more questions. Go on.
Yeah. So in 2015, when we started the company, right, we had a very unique problem that we want to give jobs to 25 crore people, but with no human intervention. Right, and that was a problem statement that we had to solve technologically. Right, and we started this journey in 2015, and when we made the product, we launched the first fully automated product in 2016. Right, so right from a candidate basically signing up onto the platform till the time he's getting a job, there should be no human intervention. Right. So we launched that product, the fully automated one, around in 2016.
You took 1 year, is it? 1 year of data sets? Where did you get your data sets from at that point of time, and how did you build it?
So first we started with a semi-automated product to understand the user behavior and what is happening around. Right.
Fantastic.
Once we got the key insights, the basic premise was these guys were already big on WhatsApp. They were already big on Facebook, YouTube, right? And we just understood why it is happening. And the one crux was that if you give them a simple and super easy to use product, they will also use Work India for jobs. Right, and we just basically focused on that after gathering information, and then we launched the fully automated app in 2016. Right, and today, the where we stand, right, in like 4 years, 5 years time, we give like 1 million jobs to people through the platform. There are over like 100,000 SMBs plus like posting jobs onto our platform.
Every month, a lakh companies come on working this platform.
Yeah, 1 lakh companies coming onto the platform, right? And the kind of matching, so marketplace, right? Matching, right, and trust are the two important parameters that you want to work with, right, to make sure that it's perfect, right? So for trust, we have like removed all the, so we are the platform who doesn't allow job brokers. We don't allow fraudulent jobs. We don't allow clickbait jobs, right? So the kind of technology, we have close to like 9.8 million instances of the fraudulent jobs, clickbait jobs, right? That we don't allow.
You want to
So
explain that to me? These are people who just hoax the job.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
what these
Absolutely.
people do is right. They will basically post a clickbait job saying that it's a office boy job of 20,000 rupees, right? And the candidate will come to the office for the job and they will just charge $1,000, $1,500, and don't give them jobs, and maybe like a fly by night kind of a thing, right? And it's a very massive problem in this segment.
Wow,
Could
this
you please
I
solve?
couldn't expect. We should chat about this further, but go on. You were saying, go on. Okay, that's one of the things that
Yeah,
your technology does. Brilliant.
No,
yeah.
and this is
So
a massive fraud, to add, to what Nilesh is saying. Vishal, you have no idea the extent to which this fraud is perpetuated. This was the biggest challenge that we faced and the blue collar workers faced, that how can you get genuine jobs digitally, right? Because they end up, they're so hungry for jobs, they end up paying 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees and don't get jobs. And
yeah, and
please
just to
So,
add,
continue,
right?
please.
so it's
We are
interesting.
the
Just correct me, Nilesh. Can you hold that thought, Nilesh? In Work India, when I apply for a job, you're saying that it is verified when I land up at the SMB's doorstep, right? That there is no
Absolutely.
hoax at all. And you're saying that these people get hoaxed by saying that, okay, pay me in advance and I'll employ you. That's what happens in India.
All sorts of things. Pay me in advance,
yes,
I'll hire you. Pay me in advance, I will give you 5 other jobs, which are amazing. And to the extent that they give them even like a company ID. We've got candidates complaining, I've got a company ID, I've got a company letter, and that guy is absconding. The guy I paid. It's unbelievable. The
Wow.
extent of fraud.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So Nilesh, that building rule engines for this is fascinating, right? And what technologies did you use at the time?
so just to maybe give an overarching statement, we are the India's only platform who is fraudulent free. Right? We don't allow job brokers, and we are the only platform in India doing that. And the technology that we have built does it automatically, fully, right? So the kind of technology that we have built, right? We initially used a graph system called as a Neo 4J graph,
Okay.
right? And after that, we built that graph in house, and that graph today has more than 9.8 million instances, which fetches the information if you ask that whether this guy is a job broker or not, or a fraudulent job or not, in like within milliseconds. Right. So that's the kind of on a real time basis. So that's the kind of technology that we have built in house with our engineering team. Right. So
How big is the team? Do you want to talk about the team? And I wanted, between 2016 and 2020, a lot of AI was bandied around. Right now, AI is table stakes. Right? How can you push the boundaries of technology in this subject? What can you do with the product? What else can you do? The reason I'm asking this is I'm sure a lot of engineering students would want to know, or even the engineers outside and other startups, that India presents unique data challenges, right? There is no data on the blue collar economy or the gray collar
Absolutely.
economy. How can this become a data source for multiple parties to build on your platform? Perhaps, if I was a technology player, I'd want to use your APIs to build a service out of this.
Absolutely. So, no, very well pointed out, Vishal. Look, white collar segment is well known now in India. The blue collar segment is like the Wild West, and that's what makes it extremely interesting, right? Building products for them, because this is a completely new user. So the use cases are massive. I mean, today a blue collar worker comes on the platform. We know when he's looking for a job. We know exactly when he's out of for a job because he comes back on the platform, and that's extremely beneficial information from a credit perspective. Uh, we can actually give them pointed loan intervention that, look, if you're out for a job, then you can get this loan for this period, and when you get back, you can again take it from the employer and pay back the loan. So there's a lot of use cases. Insurance. What happens is, see, for the blue collar worker, livelihood, meaningful livelihood. When you ask a blue collar, what is a meaningful livelihood? He doesn't say, give me insurance, give me loan. He says, sir, अच्छा job दीजिए मुझे. पहले एक अच्छा job दीजिए. So you start with recruitment, give him a trustworthy job, build that trust, and then layer up micro lending, micro insurance, and so on and so forth.
and just to
So
give
you
you a
can,
sense,
Go on, Nilesh.
right, Vishal, like today, our system processes more than 10.3 billion events. There's a deep tech AI system that we have built that has been like over 4 years now, which is helping a better matching between the SMBs and the employers, right? A better service to the candidate in terms of what kind of job he's looking for. So if after 6 months again coming to our platform, what kind of jobs to show it to him, right? And similarly for SMBs, what are the relevant candidate that he would get, right? So that is the kind of deep technology, right, with the help of AI that we have built in past 4 years.
Okay.
And
Go
just
on,
to add
Kunal.
to
Go
Nilesh,
on.
Nilesh's point, it's the technology is used in various ways. So there is search patterns. We actually look at
Yes.
employers' search patterns and accordingly give them the kind of candidates. We look at employers' behaviors in the platform. If there are some employers who are not responding to candidates, who are not picking up calls, we actually pull them down. Because look, for the candidate, that job is crucial. So he should get 2, 3 employees in his first 3 or 5 calls. So there's a lot of real-time movement that the platform does automatically. It's all done. The load balancing is entirely done automatically.
Okay. I want to ask you, Kunal, Nilesh, the sociology of this economy, right? I see a lot of these guys are being semi-entrepreneurial too. Uh, you get where I'm going. This guy will join in as a watchman in an apartment, but he'll also say, I can wash your cars. They do multiple of these. I'm trying to understand what is the aspiration for this economy. In the West, it was always the automotive, in US especially, right? It's the automotive guys were looked upon, or the steel manufacturing guys were looked upon in a big way in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Then it tapered off into complete services. How do you see this evolution in India? What's going to happen? What is for me? I think your platform is giving them a livelihood. Plus, can it take them a level plus also if they, like, for example, do they apply for reskill? Do they apply for education loans? Is that I want to make my son a white collar worker? Can I aspire towards that? Knowing the income problem, I know I'm talking about the sociology. Do you think their lives will change, or is it something that we need to have more subventions? And especially in a country like ours, we're always creating an economy that's also where there's a lot of government participation in this segment, right? Especially in the rural side. It's a large question, but if you can simplify the answer for me, it'd be brilliant, Kunal and Nilesh, or to both of you.
So pointedly, if you talk about aspirations, you know, it's very heterogeneous. I'll give you some examples and anecdotes. So if you go and talk specifically to the telecalling segment or the BPO segment, their aspirations actually are not a career in that segment. Most of them have multivaried. So somebody actually talk to them and they say, sir, मैंने इंटीरियर डिजाइन का कोर्स किया है, उसके लिए मुझे जॉब नहीं मिल रहा है, तो इसके लिए मैं ये स्टॉप गैप कर रही हूँ. Somebody will say, sir, मैंने actually as varied as, sir, मैंने कार्निवल शिप पे अप्लाई किया है and I am set to go but my visa papers aren't done, so it's going to take 6 months, so this is my job. From that segment to actually segments such as retail, where their aspirations are more to move up the value chain, right? That, sir, I'm working in a small restaurant, but I ultimately want to do an F&B course and move in the same industry. So there is a lot of heterogeneity in this segment in India versus the Americas, right? It's far more homogeneous. And I gave you 2 examples of 2 different segments, right? So
And
across
they
segments,
are
their
aspiring.
aspirations vary. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely high aspirations. You'll be amazed. You should talk to some of these people, and we do a lot of surveys going on the street on their aspirations. Beautiful.
Okay. And the savings part of it, do they come and tell you that we are getting to save? Do you track some kind of a life cycle of these guys?
So I'll tell you. Actually, it's a beautiful point that you bring out about savings. Because people always come and say, "Boss, I don't understand this segment." On one hand, at the end of the month, they don't have money and they are willing to take chota loans or advances. On the other hand, they're spending like 3x of their monthly salary or 2x of their monthly salary on buying a mobile phone. What does that mean?
I never found logic myself. They'd have some of the fanciest phones. Some of them would have these iPhone 4s and 5s. You know what I'm saying? It's very interesting.
No, absolutely. And the first response of us is, socially they're not responsible. They don't understand. They just spend trip. They don't understand how to frugality
that is
or
so true. We make value judgments.
Because of what and that's carry, not true. So I'll give you an example. When we found this, that, why are they spending 2x on the mobile phone, right? We would never spend 2x of our monthly salary. So we started asking them, कि भाई आप ऐसे क्यों कर रहे हो? And they gave a very beautiful answer. They said, देखिए सर, आपके लिए एंटरटेनमेंट माने आप बाहर गांव जाते हो, आप डिनर के लिए जाते हो, सिनेमा हॉल जाते हो. मेरे लिए घर पे एक ही टीवी है, वो हम लोग 5 लोग देखते हैं. उससे अच्छा मेरे लिए एंटरटेनमेंट तो एक स्क्रीन है, ये मोबाइल फोन. And when he said that, we realized, of course, so that means that he wants to optimize for the size of the screen. He wants a larger screen phone, right? Because if that's his only mode of entertainment, and then that's correlated to the price of the phone. So immediately we're like, oh, wow, of course. We say these guys spend, but in fact, he's saving a lot of money by actually buying that phone, but over time saving on other entertainment modes. So and these are anecdotes which are known only when you talk to them, right? So
And this
they're
is the same
amazing at savings.
aspiration in urban blue collar versus rural blue collar. Would it be the same?
We have a lot of research on urban blue collar, not yet on rural.
Okay.
So I may not be able to add.
No, yeah, but this is a brilliant point that you bring in. And so they don't have a TV, so the screen is the entertainment.
Absolutely.
And therefore,
Isn't
they're
it
okay to
beautiful?
invest.
Yeah.
It is.
Isn't it beautiful? And when they said, देखिए सर हमारे लिए कुछ और entertainment नहीं, आप तो घूमने जाते हो, dinner
Got
भी
it.
जाते हो. It's like, wow, yeah, sure, man. That's the only way. Beautiful.
No, that's a very very nice analogy, and I'm going to tell this to a lot of my friends, right? And I want to know that segment was hurt in the pandemic. We were so unprepared in many ways, right?
Yes.
I wanted to know what are some of the things that you did to help them. Of course, I also want to know the suffering over the last 2 years has not been captured in essence very 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 seriously. I keep reading World Bank reports. They say that a lot of people would have fallen below the poverty line because of that. And I'm sure this segment would be the worst hit. I track
Absolutely.
hospitality sometimes because a lot of my friends have hospitality joints that they own. They tell me that they had to fire, 3/4 of their workforce. Most of them went back to their hometowns and no way of tracking what's happened to them. Right? They say that, and a lot of them say that many of them are now coming back because the markets are opening up. But how's the last 2 years, Kunal, Nilesh? What are some of the things that you guys noticed that's something that we have to keep in mind, and we have to prepare for a next pandemic if at all, and that we shouldn't be left unprepared, right? Especially for these set of people.
Look, it's interesting that you mentioned World Bank. Actually, World Bank has been commissioned by the government of India to look at migratory trends in this segment, and they did a lot of search, and they've shortlisted Work India as their official partner. So we are working with them to provide the data on this
Congratulations
segment.
on that. That's amazing. That must be a lot of hard work and a lot of
That's a
data
lot of work.
collection.
A lot
Go
of
on,
data
tell me.
collection. Absolutely. And
Go on.
I think what we've seen is a lot of things. There's not one overarching trend. We've seen that the initial reaction of the blue collar workers, sir, मैं 4 ही महीने जाऊंगा, ये तो 3-4 महीने की चीजें फिर वापस आऊंगा. But this pandemic has extended so much that today we are finding some segments where the employers are hurting today because these workers went back and thought it was 3-4 months, but it extended over a year and a half. So now some of them have settled and started their own small shops. Some of them have got jobs in their own area, and employers again and again are telling us that they are realizing that their disposable income in rural India is as much or slightly higher with the benefit of being with the family. So what started as something which was at a huge disadvantage for the worker now has turned into a significant starvation for the employers. So that's one. Two, this migration back is going to take some time. There's been a dislocation. And unless the workers see true change in their economics, which will lead them to leave their jobs, they will not return back. But the benefit of that is there was a lot of urban unemployment, Vishal, which was being filled by in migratory trends. That urban unemployment is going to reduce. We haven't seen that, but we expect a lot of that to happen. So there's these 2-3 things happening. One, today the employers are more starved. Two is the workers will need that extra premium to move. And 3 is we expect urban unemployment to go down because of these trends.
And two just to add to that, 2 points that we also saw during the pandemic, right? We saw like a lot of people, uh, one applied for delivery jobs because those were the only jobs that were available during that point, right?
Absolutely.
So irrespective
Correct.
of him being aspiring to maybe an accounting job or office job, started applying for delivery. That is one. Second, we also saw a very interesting trend where a lot of new SMBs or like new startups or new companies uh, adopted work from home a big way, right? So we saw a lot of hiring happening in that particular segment. In fact, at some point of time during the pandemic, like just post the wave one, we saw like almost like 50-60% of hiring happening in those two work from home and delivery segments, right? And we also see that now people are so accustomed, right? There would be some percentage, like there would be like around 10-20% that would never come back to office, even for blue collar jobs, where they will be
That's
working from home.
interesting.
They're very working from home, and everyone has got their laptops now. Purchase laptops just for a work from home kind of a
And
setting.
these would be what, office clerks kind of jobs? What type of
It
jobs would
could,
be?
this could be customer support jobs, right? That would maybe just go
Got it.
towards that. Some data entry or a chat process kind of jobs, where there are strong controls of working from home,
Got it.
right? So these are the few jobs that will be
Okay.
there
Okay.
from home. Yeah.
Okay. Kunal, I want to talk to you about the early sales while Nilesh was building super tech for you. Uh, you and the other co-founder had to go sell the idea, right? Also, right? How did that happen? Talk about, we didn't even have Swiggy or Zomato.
No,
We had Zomato, but they didn't have this kind of model back then.
absolutely.
How
Uh,
did things change? Things changed so rapidly, right? And how did you guys? You could talk about your clients because you have banking clients. You have so many different types of clients,
Absolutely.
right? I want to talk
Uh,
about your clientele, your first sell, who championed you and why, and why was it?
yeah.
Did you celebrate that moment? Is that client still with you, or who's been your super client in a way? If you're
No,
privy to sharing that data.
no, no, very happy, very happy. Uh, I still remember that. I'll tell you about that product, our first journey. So we had this semi-automated app, right? Just to understand how blue collar user preferences work. But very quickly, what we realized was that uh, we have to have a completely automated app, because if our purpose, so we don't have a vision or a mission. Our company doesn't have a mission. We have a purpose statement, which is to provide meaningful livelihoods to the 258 million blue collar of India. So we said, look, if we have to achieve our destiny, our purpose, we cannot have a manual app, because we will end up having 100 million people, hiring 100 million people in our office just to cater to that. Those were the days of Ola, Uber. Uber had just come into India, and we went and told everybody around, even the experts, that look, we're going to have a 100% automated app. And they said, what? We said, yeah. And the blue collar worker is going to come on our app and talk to the employer directly. And we're going to make it so seamless for him that the app will be like hand holding him, like we do it manually today. And we got amazing amounts of pushback, and which made a lot of sense there. The pushback was, boss, in globally, Uber has never used a call center. And here they are considering using one. Uh, Two, in India. Two, the white collar uses Ola, and they still need a call center. How can you potentially have a blue collar worker not having any manual handholding, using an app, knowing what to do? Um, uh, Two, uh, we introduced something called the candidate discovery process versus the employee discovery process. So pre-work India, classifieds had this standard process of employer will do the entire discovery. And which had been going on for the past 10 years in India. We said, boss, this is not going to work for the blue collar segment. They need speed, they need ease. Give them the app in their hand and let them speak to the employer. When we did that, people said, boss, this is not going to work. The blue collar worker will call up the employer directly. Employer to pagal ho jayega. Aapka to product chalne nahi wala hai, boss. Ye to nahi hone wala hai. And to be honest with you, Vishal, at that point, we didn't have a huge amount of data, right? Because the industry was also evolving. So a large part of our product, the 0 to X product was based on our field research and not hard data that we have today. And we took that call to 100% automate the app to make it a fully calling app. Today, it's become an industry standard. Most startups, many large companies, incumbents in India are following the same calling model. So that is the first thing. Uh, yeah, I think that's been in terms
And
of
any the clients who championed you.
um, honestly. So for us, it's the story of all these small clients. 80% of our clients are SMBs, and when we talk about SMBs, 33% of these SMBs have never recruited online before, working as the first time they're recruiting. And so go ahead, Nilesh.
Yeah, I can tell you about the first SMB. Right, there was a small dentist who hired a receptionist. Uh,
I mean, I was about to think that it's going to be some kind of the ride sharing guys or whatever, but you said dentist. That's fantastic. Go for it.
yeah, so who hired a receptionist, and he was based in Mumbai, in an area somewhere close to Chembur. Right, so that was the first guy. If you talk about the known name that we have provided, it's a company called uh, Swiggy, right? Everyone knows about Swiggy, and also Grab on a delivery segment,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Remember them too.
So they started using us. We almost started for free. They started charging. They started paying like $3,000. I'm talking about like 4 years back, right? That now today they are paying in lakhs to work in
That's
there.
interesting. Great.
And they would have been using they are now using work India for the past like 4 years now, right? And know the entire journey how it has been.
That speaks
So
volumes about it, right? Is there a customer success that you track here? Like in the technology world, we say customer success, Kunal, Nilesh. Uh, do you track something of that sort here? Is that how the SMBs are happy? Is that how the workers are happy? Is there a loop, feedback loop, and that you capture very religiously?
Absolutely. So we look at various ways. There's no one way. We look at a triangulation of NPS, customer surveys, um, and customer reviews on the app.
the
And
CSAT score, the CSAT score.
go for it, Nilesh.
So the CSAT score.
What's a CSAT score? I mean, I'm sorry,
So
pardon me,
basically,
my ignorance.
if someone calls our customer support team, post for a support, after getting a support, we get the feedback from the SMB. How was the service?
CSAT stands for customer satisfaction.
Yeah,
That's how.
yeah.
Okay.
It's called as a CSAT score that we track it.
That you track religiously. Okay, you said that when you started out, there was not many catering to the blue collar segment in an organized manner. It was just another vertical that other job portals started. But now everybody seems to be focused on that, right? Everybody has a focused business around this. For example, 314 capital funded Better Place, right? Kunal and Nilesh, how different are you from competition? Is a question that I want to ask. And how about that fundraise? And was it important for you at the time? In India, we always say that, okay, a lot of people say that, okay, if this company has raised money, I'll go join them. The reason I'm linking that to is the people that want to work for you guys also. How did you manage that team? It's a leadership question, fundraising, running a team at the same time, managing this narrative that we are, that purpose statement that you talked about, Kunal and Nilesh. How did you link these three aspects and also handling competition?
I think, look, this is a massive industry, so competition will come in. Our ethos is simple. Competition is good because the more competition, more people come online, right? Uh, and then the best product should win. It's as simple as that. As regards, our team, uh, we have a large part. Look, so for us, we are 100% automated app, so we don't have any manual leg, right? So So we have significant margins, and we should be profitable, right? As a model, because employers are used to paying for recruitment is not a new thing for them. But as regards the team, I think the critical driver for the team that keeps us together is just this purpose on a day-to-day basis. When you hear calls from a candidate who says, "Sir, मुझे बहुत दिन जॉब नहीं मिल रहा था और वर्क इंडिया मैंने डाउनलोड किया और उसी दिन मुझे जॉब मिल गया, बहुत ही सही है ये." Or when you hear stories from really small SMBs, right? We have like people who are slightly largest, but Xerox centers, and they have hired these Xerox flipping guys from Work India, and they say, "अरे बहुत सही था, मेरा वो 5 दिन नहीं था, मेरा 5 दिन का कैश बिलिंग, they call it गल्ला, but कैश बिलिंग मेरा नहीं हो रहा था, तो वर्क इंडिया ने मेरे डाउनलोड किया, दोस्तों को फोन करने की जरूरत नहीं है, मुझे फटाफट एम्प्लॉय मिल गया."
Do
And these
Kirana shops
stories
hire also from you?
all the time. Slightly bigger Kirana stores, but sari stores, jewelry stores, name it. The very stores that you see, hardware stores on the road, all of them hire from Work India.
And also to just give you a sense, right, an anecdote, right? So I was just traveling in Mumbai with a Work India T-shirt, right, and maybe going to an office somewhere, and there was a register that I had to enter. There's a girl, like a security girl, who basically saw my T-shirt. अरे आप Work India से हो? ठीक है, आप जाइए जाइए. Right, and when you just hear all of that, right, at the
That gives you
airport,
goosebumps, doesn't it? Saying
yeah,
that I've done something right.
yeah, and like simple, I was going to an airport, right? The guy who checks the boarding pass, says me that, "Oh, you're in Work India. I used to apply for job like 4 years back,
Nice,
and right, and you're like just going, right." And all these things, I'm very sure happens to our teammates also when they travel out,
Nice.
right? So all of these things
And
just
it's
the purpose,
these
right?
stories which keep us going. Data is one, right? But it's these stories which keep us going much more as a team.
I agree. And the funding piece, you raise money from a smartphone manufacturer. How did that happen? Number one.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And how much money have you raised in total? If you could talk about, this is something I want you to answer in terms of why startups should raise money at the right time, and at the right impact stage. Many of them get it wrong. They raise too early, dilute too early, and suddenly end up under a lot of pressure to scale. Right? That's something you talk about, both of you, please.
Sure enough. So we'll talk about both. So Xiaomi is a very interesting conversation. We remember this is 2019 May, and Nilesh got a WhatsApp from Shirley, who's a great friend now, and said, "Yeah, I've got this WhatsApp from this lady, but I don't know who she is, but she seems like some investor." So we said, "Investor, now वापस respond कर ले." So and Nilesh reached out and responded back, and what happened was, and then Shirley came and met us, and the amount of data she had about Work India, we were ourselves amazed. So what most people don't know, the beautiful thing about Xiaomi is they've sold close to about 100 million phones, and out of that, 75 to 80% are the 10,000 to 12,000 category phones. So there were a lot of data on their smartphones, and they could actually see Work India's engagement numbers, all of that. So when Shirley came and shown us and it spoke to us about some of our data, we were amazed. Wow, you guys have a lot of data, and that's how they reached out to us, and we met spoke to their China team, and that's how the investment happened. On fundraise, I think absolutely right. You have to go through the right phases to absorb funds also. You have to have the product market fit right. Then you have to get the revenue model right and your unit economics right. If you rush too early, it's hard to you're biting more than you can chew. And if you're going too late, it's a challenge too. When is the right time? I think it's a balance which it's very, very subjective to different funds. Different startups. For us, I think it's very clear. We've got a revenue and profitability model right, and now is the right time to raise funds.
Phenomenal. I want to ask both of you, Nilesh, if you could tell me, how did your platform look at security for women. I know women must be a large part of this. Let's not ignore that
Absolutely.
one particular
It is.
question.
It is.
What is it? Some people say it's only 22% in India in the blue collar workforce are women, or is it larger? I don't know the numbers, so I'm asking you. How did you prepare the rule engine to protect these people? Security is very important. I know men would probably get hoaxed for money, but women could be get probably get hoaxed also and abused. So how did you
Absolutely.
manage that?
So, the fraud engine that Nilesh was talking about, there's a lot of these keywords that our engine has to constantly parse. And there's something called NLP, right? Natural language processing. Our engine actually checks if there are any wrong words being used and strings of sentences and blocks those jobs out. Because if you don't, there are many of these jobs which come under the garb of a receptionist and
I
actually
get what you mean. Yeah.
are antisocial jobs. Nilesh, go for it. Nilesh
So,
is
And
and
they're
Mo is a
sexually
bit with
exploited
technology.
in many cases. The women, if
Absolutely.
that's something, oh, got it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah. So, it's a very serious issue, right? So, see, our engine basically what does it? It learns patterns, right? The whole objective being that once you understand the pattern, that if for example there is this kind of job which has this kind of language, right, and has been blacklisted before, in a very simplistic term, our engine basically learns that, and there are like 100 parameters that our engine processes, right? And then there's a mixture of natural language processing that Kunal was talking about, and our AI system that basically understands by using this 100 data points whether this kind of job should be allowed or not onto the platform. That is one. And second, uh, 97% of the job is basically done by this engine itself, right? And there are 3% error that we actually measure internally. And even if there is error, there is a feedback loop that we get from the candidates who report to us that uh, like this job has been so and so because of this and this reason, and we immediately understand the pattern, how the flaw came, remove them, and also the candidate, the employer is blacklisted, and then is never back to the platform, right? So this is the kind of at a very high level the system that
I
we have
think
Okay.
at the
created.
very core and very well distinguished from the white collar segment is any product in this segment. You have to build a trust first, Vishal. Um, uh, if you don't build trust with the blue collar gray collar segment, you will never be able to get their eyeballs and their mind share.
Absolutely. I mean, this is I'm thinking about this deeply because I think a lot of responsibility is on your shoulders as well with this kind of a product, right? And how many
Absolutely.
women apply on the platform?
35% of
Wow.
our base is women.
35% is a
Yeah,
large number.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And most of the women come into what writing type of jobs, clerical positions, accountants. What type of jobs would they?
Uh, uh,
Nursing,
Housekeeping.
housekeeping.
Housekeeping is big.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So primarily,
Go on, Nilesh. Pardon me.
it would be like telecalling,
Okay,
accounts, receptionist,
okay,
housekeeping, right? So these are the categories of jobs.
okay. You've got this World Bank thing going with the government of India also, Kunal, Nilesh. It's a great accolade, right, to collect data and talk about these migratory trends. What is the role of the government in all this? What do we expect? I mean, there's a lot of things get talked about from the agri side of the workforce. Do you think it's time that we also started talking about the blue collar workforce very seriously because urban migration is serious, and and perhaps they have to address subventions for this market? Do you think freebies itself are good for this segment, or you're saying provide meaningful employment and all these people will get better lives? What your
Yeah.
thought processes on a changing India here, Kunal?
If you look at some of the developed economies, I can talk about the American economy in particular. Freebies haven't worked there. In fact, it has created larger social problems than no freebies. I think the right way to go about is to promote employment, right, through a multi-pronged approach. One is promote jobs. Second is promote education and upskilling. Uh, Provide, if you will, today the government of India has these schemes for study abroad loans, which are discounted. Similarly, upskill loans for upskilling, which are discounted, right? And when you have these two, three things which will help a blue collar worker either to upgrade or to get into the workforce, that's a far more meaningful dollar spent than giving you food coupons or discounted food or money on the plate. There's no doubt about that. And there's reams of research in the developed economies on how this multi-pronged approach is not a booster shot, takes time, but is a far more superior approach.
If I was an education institute, I'd perhaps be plugged into your platform simply because I can get to know
Yeah.
how these people are working and what are their salary income types, and perhaps subvent education in a way, right? I mean, I don't know if that can ever happen. Do you see that happening? Multiple opportunities. I'm just thinking the future, Kunal.
No,
How would this go in the
absolutely.
various segments?
No. In fact, a number of not institutions but edtech platforms speak to us because think about it this way. I know exactly, Vishal, what is Vishal's education level, what is his English speaking level, what kind of job is he looking for. So I can give you very, very topical, pointed courses, right? Like if you're really poor English, I can give you, a basic English talking course. If you're kind of midway English, I will give you email courses and fluent English course. So if I give Vishal, who has no knowledge of English, a slightly advanced course, he's never going to adapt to it. So absolutely, we have so much data today on this segment that it lends itself to
Okay. Okay.
education and
Are your
plugging
families
in.
happy now that you're making impact? And Nilesh, what have you learned from Kunal that's very valuable to you? And Kunal, what have you learned from Nilesh that you had to unlearn many things and say, okay, this is how the new generation works?
I think what has helped is Kunal comes from a very I would say a senior background, considering he has more experience than me, right? And what it helps is the thought process, right, about solving a problem, right? The Kunal has a very different thought process, a very different way of solving a problem. He's more relaxed. He's more uh, 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 सोच के करते हैं kind of a thing, right? Let's say couple
I
of
can see
days,
that
that
about
kind
his
of stuff, right?
demeanor. Yeah.
Yeah, and the kind of background that I coming from is basically do it quickly, right? Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do that, right? And this blend of basically two different thought processes has helped Work India to achieve where we are today, like giving like a million jobs to people.
Got it. What about you, Kunal? From
I
from
think
Nilesh?
most definitely the complexity handled by both, just not just Nilesh and Moise. Vishal, what happens is when you're processing such huge amount of data, today, like 450 million events pass through our system a month. I mean, think about that, right? The sheer scale itself creates its own complexities. On top of that, you have to provide it real time, right? Because as the guy is passing jobs, we are knowing more about him and giving him better and better jobs. Uh, I think the ability to just find out problems, these complex problem statements, and solve them, it just overawes me about Nilesh and Moise. I'm amazed. I mean, there's no
Yeah,
doubt. I'm
and
amazed.
also to give you a sense, right, the kind of impact that you are making, even for the
Yeah,
SMBs, the kind of so basically before Work India, an SMB used to take close to 7 to 8 days to
absolutely.
hire one person, right? We have shortened it to 2 days, right?
Phenomenal.
And over here, the SMBs, right, their sales is linked to the hiring. So indirectly, we are helping to achieve his revenues and increasing the GDP of the country, uh, right? By fastening the process
Agree.
of the entire hiring. That's the kind of platform that with the help of Moise, like Moise who's leading this right now, we have built.
Okay, great. Summing up, what is the future of work, Kunal, in this segment? What can we expect, Nilesh, in the next 8 years? Or, I mean, 8 years is too long. The next 2 years, where are we heading?
I can definitely tell you the future of the blue collar segment
Yes, please.
and what we are trying to build. But just about 4 or 5 years ago, this was a segment which was very, very gray, or for the lack of a better word, murky. There was just no transparency.
Agreed.
Um, we've been able to shed a little bit of light. I won't say we've been able to shed a lot of light, a little bit of light. But the future is to just make this so transparent. Why can't a, 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 a a blue collar worker or a gray collar worker before applying know, does this employer give salary at the end of the month, or does he cheat? Why can't he know that, has this, why can't the employer know that, oh, has this guy gone to 5 different jobs, or has he done pilferage? Why can't we make it such a beautifully transparent system that it lends itself to matching, to self matching? The good quality guys go to the good quality guys, and then the filtered people have to bear with the filter. But everybody knows what they're signing up for, instead of today or 5 years ago when it was just extremely gray. I think so. Building transparency in the system is the critical part. What we also see is a shift towards gig, but I think that's very well known.
Yeah, that's a
And we are
well-known
in that
topic.
economy, so we see it a big time.
And from
Nilesh,
a
your thoughts?
yeah, and from a future standpoint, right? As Kunal mentioned, also, uh, we want every SMB, right? There are like 63 million SMBs in India to be on Work India platform. There are 25 crore uh, blue collar workforce, and we want each and every user to be on Work India platform. I think that's we want to achieve, and we are like just like 1 or 2% today, right? And
Okay.
and we as the technology team or the tech team, engineering team are building platforms for that kind of a scale. Moj is building for that kind of a scale.
I'm going to ask you two difficult questions and we'll close. What's your 30-second guide to happiness? I'm going to start off with Nilesh and then go to Kunal. Kunal's got time to prepare. What's your 30-second guide to happiness, Nilesh?
I think what helps is do what your heart says, right or the wrong thing. It's basically what makes you happy, and you should just do it. Right? If it doesn't work, you don't have to regret. But if you don't do it, you will always regret. Right? So that's the simple
I
happiness.
wish I had that insight at your age. That's phenomenal. Kunal, what about you?
I, uh, and thank you for giving me the time to think. I, I read this in Mahatma Gandhi's My Experiment with Truth, and I truly love the framework. It's in life, if life is very simple. If you just do three things: action, honesty, humility, AHH, and you just keep on doing these things. You're action oriented. You're very honest, which is what you think is what you say is what you do, and you're humble. Everything else is taken care of. And I've tried to inculcate that with a lot of difficulty and a lot of failures. But that's my 30 seconds to happiness, and that's beautiful. The days
Thank
I'm
you
able
so
to do
much.
all three, I just feel amazing.
So you measure it on a day-to-day basis. That's phenomenal. That is
A bit of
phenomenal.
if I'm able to, it's hard to do reflection every day, very hard. But even if I do 3 days a week, that's a victory for me. That's a
Great,
victory for me.
great. Well, final question. What books are you reading, Kunal? And Nilesh, now you got time to think to make suggestions. What books are you reading?
I have to admit, my kids call me boring. I love to read biographies, and they said, "Dada, what Dada is again sitting with his book." But I love them for a reason, because what I found is that in a biography, they really beautifully, if you read Ben Franklin's biography, or Abe Lincoln's, or even Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, it does not just, it's not a self-help book. It tells you about the situation faced by the individual, what actions he took. Some failed, some didn't, but it gives you a very beautiful context of what are the frameworks he used to come out of that situation. And typically the situations that we face in life are more or less similar, right? The context is different, but the situations are similar, and so those frameworks help a lot. So I love biographies. What am I reading now? I read a lot. I think I'm reading Scott Peck's. It's not a biography; it's a book on psychology. By reading Scott Peck's the difficult road ahead, and I'm loving that book. It's by my
Scott
bedside,
Peck,
actually.
right? By Scott Peck. I'm going to pick
Scott
it
Peck.
up. The
You must.
Difficult Road
You
Ahead.
must.
I'm going to
The
check it
difficult
out.
road ahead. It's a beautiful book.
Okay. Nilesh, what about you?
To be very honest, I don't read much books, but there's one book that I'm reading is on growth mindset. Uh, uh,
Got it. It
uh,
can be, you can also suggest documentaries and videos. I don't mind that too.
so I like historical stuff, right? I love watching documentaries. I've recently watched a documentary on Netflix on World War II. There's the entire documentary. So I've recently watched that. It teaches us a lot. Then also I read a documentary on Sun Tzu recently on what leadership means, right? What a commander is all about. So those are two documentaries, or I keep watching documentaries about. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I think Sun Tzu is it's very philosophic. At it's several interpretations. That's lovely. And Kunal, Nilesh, you guys have been wonderful. Thanks for being on the upstreamlife.com. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the founders of Work India. Go check them out. If you're an SME hiring, you definitely have to go register on their platform. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishal.